Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Muslim Divorce Basics. My name is Naveed Husain, and I'm a divorce attorney in Chicago. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about alimony, and I really want to break it down into three separate questions. So the first question is, what is alimony? The second question we'll try to answer today is, how is alimony calculated? And third, and most, what I find the most interesting aspect of it is, what does Islam have to say about maintenance? So before we go forward, if you've been enjoying these videos, if you've benefited from them, please go ahead, like the video, subscribe. That allows for people who need to hear this to actually hear it. And so to move forward, alimony is basically monthly payments made by one individual to another individual, or one spouse to the other spouse. In most circumstances, it's going to be the husband paying the wife monthly payments for a certain amount of time, okay? And so this is in addition to child support. And basically the theory behind alimony or maintenance is that it's supposed to be a rehabilitative payment for the other spouse. It's supposed to act as a way to get them back on their feet and move forward. So that's one theory of what alimony or maintenance might be for. The other theory is that it's supposed to maintain the lifestyle that was enjoyed during the marriage. Now that one, obviously sits very interestingly, but the point is that in addition to child support, there would also be maintenance. And I think what the government is trying to do is say, look, we don't want you to come to us and have state benefits. We'd rather have somebody else, your ex-husband in this circumstance, pay for those monthly payments for a certain amount of time, okay? And so that's what alimony is. Now, how is alimony calculated and how much is alimony? How long does it last, right? So the way that alimony is calculated here in Illinois is that we take the higher earner's income, 33% of their income, minus 25% of the lower earner's income. Now, it might be that the lower earner doesn't even have a job, okay? And in that circumstance, the judge may decide that, you can work, and therefore we're going to pretend that you're making minimum wage, okay? And so that happens very often. And so basically 33% minus 25%, that's the calculation, and becomes a monthly calculation as to how much you're actually going to be paid or going to pay in maintenance. So then the second question, or the subpart to this is, how long does it last? And so this is also a formula based off of the length of the marriage. So the longer that you've been married, the longer this maintenance or alimony payment is going to last. And so theoretically, before maintenance is even awarded, the judge is supposed to have a finding or make a finding that maintenance is appropriate in that particular case, based off the sacrifice, being a stay-at-home mom, or somebody sacrificing their career for somebody else to get a degree or something like that. But many times the judges, they kind of skip over that, okay? And they kind of just go automatically to maintenance being awarded, and they go through this calculation that I'm about to share. So essentially, the calculation for the amount we talked about, but for the duration, it's dependent on the length. So 5-year marriage, you're going to take 20% of that marriage. So that's like 1 year's worth of maintenance. Now, as you go up, that percentage also goes higher. So when you get to 19 years, it's 80% of the length of the marriage. And then 20 or more, the judge essentially has discretion to award 20 years of maintenance, or something called indefinite maintenance, meaning it just goes on until somebody wants to change it, or it just goes on forever maybe. And so that's how maintenance is calculated and how long maintenance will last for. So we covered already what is alimony, what is maintenance. We covered how to calculate it and how long it goes. And finally, and I think the most interesting part, is what does Islam have to say about maintenance? So I think it's very obvious that maintenance is not found in our tradition, okay? This is obviously a American law concept or a Western law concept, born out of, the unity of two individuals once they get married, right? That's not an Islamic concept. It might be a Christian concept or some other type of concept, but it's definitely not Islamic, right? Because in Islam, the only maintenance that we find is something during the first 3 months, during the iddat period, okay? And so in that circumstance, the husband does have to continue paying for 3 months of 3 or 4 months, depending on the circumstances, of their expenses. But beyond that, once they are divorced, there's no more payments. However, in the American context, payments can go on for years and years. So now the question is the recipient of the maintenance, are they allowed to take it? Now, again, I'm not a scholar. I can't say something is halal or haram, but from my understanding, these maintenance payments are not allowed, because especially if the husband is doing it involuntarily, okay? Basically that the judge makes him do it, and now you as the recipient, you had the choice to take this maintenance or not take this maintenance. It's not like the state is necessarily forcing you to take maintenance, okay? So in that case, if the husband is involuntarily providing payments beyond the iddat period, from my understanding, that you shouldn't be taking that money, right? Whether that's the husband or that's the wife. Now, the other circumstance where maintenance might be okay is if this was negotiated up front, okay? So we're going to talk about prenuptial agreements, but in a prenuptial agreement, you can both of you can decide whether you want to waive maintenance, so no one can claim maintenance against the other. You can decide how much maintenance is going to be. You can decide that maintenance is going to be in accordance with the Illinois law. But the problem comes in when two individuals get married in this country, they sign a legal certificate, or they get the license and they submit it. Now they're bound by the state. At that time, there is no negotiation, no meeting of the minds of maintenance payment. So, some people might argue that, well, the law of the land allows it, right? But we don't have to follow the law of the land in this circumstance, because you have the choice not to take the maintenance. And there's not an understanding at the time of entering into that marriage with the state that there's going to be these maintenance payments that have to be paid for years and years and years, even after the payor is remarried or the circumstances change, right? The only time that maintenance would terminate is if the recipient passes away, if they get remarried, if they cohabitate with other people. Otherwise, that maintenance can go on for a very, very long time. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope these videos are helpful. If you have any questions, please do leave comments below. And if any of you know anyone, or you yourself know about this area of Islamic law, I would love to work together. I would love to learn from you. I would love to go back and forth and kind of explain the nuances from the US Illinois side and see how they kind of mirror, or how they're distinguished from each other. So inshallah, until next time, assalamu alaikum.